Hello and welcome to Paths to Publication. We're so glad that you could join us today and counsel our wonderful group of graduate assistants and scholars on what you have to share with regards to writing and publication and becoming a part of this scholarly fraternity. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela Renwick. I am a lead here at,
We cannot hear you,
you can hear me?
Michaela. Yes, okay.
You can hear me now? Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela Renwick. I am a lead here at the Writing Center. I'm so excited to be here and to just kind of be presenting about like what makes a poster engaging. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That way we can see the PowerPoint. So give me 1 second. Are you guys able to see my screen? Yes, awesome. Okay, so again, this is the Writing Center. So I'm gonna first kind of start off by asking what makes a poster engaging? Have you guys seen any posters that are engaging? You guys can share in the chat or unmute yourself to kind of just say like what makes a poster engaging to you.
I would say visuals.
Mhm. Visuals for sure. I'm seeing some photos, color content, clear sentences. These are all great explanations about what makes a poster engaging. I think visuals and color and pictures are extremely important because it's nothing like seeing a poster that has no life to it. So kind of what you guys said, um, it's not letting me get there we go. Engaging presentations are dynamic, they're eye-catching. So this goes back to saying color, content, the way that people organize things. They're polished, and they resonate. So they leave the audience with something to remember. So you want your poster to have whether it's like a call to action for them to see later on, or it's just something where like that picture was amazing. So when we think about poster experiences, has anyone had any experiences with posters before? Have they presented posters or seen any posters? So you guys can just again unmute yourself or share in the chat.
Yes, when I was in university, I did research posters for our symposiums.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else have any experiences with posters? Okay, great. So we'll kind of go back off of that. I think they're like kind of you said, Michael, they're really popular with symposiums and sometimes at like national conferences, you'll have the opportunity to not necessarily give a paper presentation, but you can have a poster presentation. And so with that being said, research posters are used to tell a story. There are specific formats and layouts that need to be used so that it can be engaging because people are coming to your poster and they're just looking at it, right? And so you want your poster to be able to tell the story that even when you're not there, they understand what your research is. So format and layouts are extremely important. I know somebody put in the comments like organization when we're talking about what makes them engaging. And also using clear and concise language. Oftentimes, as scholars are writing like long papers and we are continuously adding a lot of data, the research posters are timed to be extremely clear and extremely concise so that we're not trying to put the whole entire like paper there, but we want somebody to be able to walk away understanding what we have done. The next thing is like key design elements. You do not want too many things that are going on there. So you want to make sure that you have the exact information that you need on your poster. So with that being said, why choose a research poster? I know with some organizations, it's not necessarily an option because they're having this is the poster symposium, and others you kind of have that choice. So for example, we have some things listed on this slide. Research posters are often more engaging and interesting to the audience. Sometimes hearing somebody talk And not really just going through PowerPoints is not as engaging. And a research poster is something that can really pull your audience in because of the imagery and it's kind of like a story map. You want to think of like a comic book in a way, right? Like you get to see the pictures, the images, etc. The next one is can be viewed without you being there. That one's actually a really exciting one where your research can kind of speak for itself when you're not standing there. And so that's why it goes back to making sure that our research poster looks engaging, it has information that needs to be there, it's clear, it's concise, because you want your research to still speak for itself when you're not there. Um, and the next one is great for those who are uncomfortable with public speaking. I don't know about you guys, if there's anyone that has ever had super nervous when doing any sort of public speaking, this is a really great way to kind of take that pressure off of you. And if you're uncomfortable with speaking a particular language, this is also another example, of really moving through the process of still being able to present your research while also not having the pressures of public speaking. I do see the question about if the Writing Center provides assistance with writing a research poster. Yes, we do. We can help you kind of format and lay it out. We can also help with any sort of public speaking mechanisms. If you ever have a presentation, you want to practice your presentation with us, we do offer that as well. It's not necessarily that we'll be making the poster with you, but we can help you outline and organize what you would be putting on your poster. So the next thing is while you're making your poster, you really want to make sure that you know your audience and the purpose. There's a vast difference between giving a presentation on somebody that is in your discipline versus somebody that is not in your discipline at all. I think oftentimes when we're writing like grant proposals or things like that, they'll always say like write for a broader audience. But with this, you know that certain presentations is a mixture of experts and non-experts and what will interest your audience. So there has to be that balance between having people that would understand what your research is about and also those that wouldn't, because you want to draw as many people into your research. Because like me, my research is so important to me and I want to share it with other people, but how do I make sure people that are outside of my own discipline want to be grabbed into it as well? So thinking through like what will interest your audience and stick to the most important points. Sometimes it's easy to want to throw in like smaller points because it does build your research, but again, it's just a poster. And so we want to make sure that we are putting out our top 3 to 5 points that really are hitting home and somebody could read and at least walk away with like a good understanding of your research. You can kind of think of this as like writing an extended abstract, right? Like the abstract does not capture our entire like research paper that we might have wrote, but it is a little bit more detailed than like a shorter abstract. Are there any more questions so far as I'm continuing? Okay. So we'll kind of dive into poster formats. There are different ways that you can format your poster. Um, Let me go to the next slide so you can see that. So the common, most like known layout is the IMRAD. And so that is kind of starts from top to bottom. You'll kind of have an abstract, introductions, methods, results, and then your discussion. And then you kind of have like the references and acknowledgments like in a smaller section on this poster. And so the layout that IMRAD is extremely customizable, right? So for example, we have here on like the top left, you have the abstract introduction. So you're typing, you're adding images there, you get to your objectives, your methods. So this is really, really big for like those like in STEM, for example, like you see, this is for engineering, where you can insert in your imagery, your charts, etc. And this really gives you that free way for people to read it as if it was a paper. Like you can move from section to section and it's easy to follow. And it's very clear. And again, this is one of the most common ways, and it's extremely customizable. Like I said, you can enter in your name, the affiliated institutions, and you can move things around so that it fits the story that you're trying to tell. With this, you see another example where you kind of have your results as like the main thing, right? Like that is the section, that is the middle, and then everything else kind of centers it. This is kind of like a web and an idea, right? And so if you kind of look at this imagery right here on your screen, you'll see each section kind of tells you what you should have. So like I'll kind of read in the results box. It says highlight your large photos, charts, maps, and you do not want to include every graphic you've made. Sometimes you want to just show off artwork completely, and that makes so much sense. But here, think of it as like you have a limited time, and it's like almost like a elevator pitch, like an extended elevator pitch, right? So if you just have 1 to 2 simple graphics, viewers will be drawn to explore them versus if you have a bunch of graphics going on at once. A lot of things we mentioned when we started the session about visuals and having arrows and boxes, that'll pull your audience to kind of look around on that screen. You want to keep size of all text as big or bigger than the rest of the poster. That way you can pull audiences in. I know we have different colors and different sizes and we're bolding things. It'll bring your audience's attention to certain places. Another example is if you read on the materials and methods box, it says 3 sentences max, right? So if the viewer really wants to know some gruesome details, they'll ask or email you. Sometimes just adding a picture is good, right? Like if you are doing like field observations for your methods, maybe just taking a picture from your field observations and adding them there would be amazing. The cool thing about posters is that you're also there. So you let people read your poster, then you can ask them if they have any particular questions, and then you can explain further. If you're not there, at least you have enough information that gives this overview. And again, they can email you because all your information is there. And then again, you even have like the further information, something that I see here, they added a link, but something cool, you could put a QR code there and people could scan with their phone and even get even more information about your project, right? So everything does not have to be on this poster. Kind of similar. You can kind of see how things, again, another example, right? Like here, we move the literature cited acknowledgement and further information to the right, and there's nothing at the bottom. Like it's kind of positioned there. Based on the one that I just showed you in this one, if you guys can just say the first or second, which one you think is more visually appealing to you? There's no right answer. Both of these are commonly used. I was just curious to see like which one you guys kind of like more. I can go back so you can see the first one that I just showed. So we have this one where the literature acknowledgements for the information is kind of underneath. And then we have this one. So which one do you guys like more? Again, you can just add that to the comments. The second one. Awesome. Second one, I like the second one too. It's a little bit more visually appealing, and I also think the results section being larger gives you more space to add more information about your results. Here's another one where you combine results and conclusions. And I really like this one also because it says put a question here and put another question here, right? And the questions engage audience, right? Because you're explaining what your question is, you're entering a large photo or chart that addresses that question, and you're doing the same thing if you have a second question, right? And so these are pulling your audience, you're showing a question, you're giving them the picture. Um, Combining results and conclusion is a great tactic to use because your results always lead to how you conclude, right? And so being able to just put an interesting sentence and explanation there, even putting another image if you have the space is a good way to do that. Because we made the results and conclusions a little bit bigger, now you see we put the literature cited acknowledgements and further information back at the bottom. Again, and then to the left, you have the introduction. I always think is good to just kind of write out. And then methodology, again, I think adding a picture to how you're doing your methods, even if you have a picture of you doing the methods, that might be an interesting way to pull your audience in. So that is just another example. As you can see here, like inserting a large photo, chart, etc. These are the things that pull your audience in. Yes, the words are important, but how do you balance words with images to keep your audiences engaged? So here are just some images of people just exploring and looking at this. You can kind of see what, like at the top, the title is large. And then there's just it is a lot going on this poster, but it is pulling your audience in at the same time. Here's another example of a poster. This one is about, sorry, my thing is like covering it. A shared, so this one's about food and alcohol, and then you see how it's broken out and kind of engaging, right? Like you have the background. It kind of explains the measures, the conclusions, it has images. The references are small, but you can kind of see what they're using there. I also want to point out that there are limited references that they're using because you do not want to like overly cite in your poster, but you really want to pull your voice into it as much as you can. Here's just another example. Um, Here's another example of the digital humanities and things like that. So going into software, oh, sorry. Going into software, you can use PowerPoint, Adobe Creative Suite, Canva, user-friendly, can have a fee. And then generative AI is also an option to help you create. Some honorable mentions you can see below, Poster Genius, Freehand. So we just wanted to kind of give you that information on where you can ask, kind of use the software to build what you want to create. The biggest thing is, and we say this often, is cutting the fluff, right? So you want to make sure that we're structuring our sentences clear, you're paying attention to flow, you're eliminating unhelpful words, things like that, right? Like you want to make sure that we are straight to the point and that we're not wasting time in getting as much of our information out there while still using limited number of words. So for the first thing is clarity and complexity. So you want to put the simpler idea first, right? Because again, everybody that's looking at your research is not doing your research. Um, so when one party, such as a business, negatively, sorry, this is in my way, impacts another party without taking on any related costs, economists say a negative externally has occurred versus a negative externally occurs when one party, um, such as business, negatively impacts another party without taking on related costs. So this again is moving towards having a simpler idea first. Create coherence. So you want to make sure that your sentences are coherent. So you guys can kind of read the example on here on the screen. But you can see the switch as we have the words in maroon. Repeating those key terms and making sure that it flows. Creating coherence is extremely important because you want to make sure that your audience is understanding what you're saying and that your ideas move from one sentence to the next, without making things a little bit confusing. So here you'll see that the intravenous feeding is repeated life, quality life again to make sure that people are understanding what you are trying to get across. Sometimes we are pushed to go, not necessarily do that in writing, but in posters it is important to do. And then the lonely this, right? This is the one thing, this is the one thing that we talk about is moving away from just saying this is X, Y, and Z. No, you need to say what this is. So for example, saying this is the subject of my research gives you that information of what you're trying to talk about. Yes, please definitely share your poster experiences as well if you guys have any. I'm gonna skip through this slide. Um, Are there any questions so far that you guys want to ask before I keep kind of going through different phrases or any experiences that anybody wants to share?
So, Michaela, we'll come to questions in about 5-6 minutes. And I would also encourage if someone has a poster ready, so we could probably show a glimpse of that.
Yeah,
And yes. So sure, thank you. Go ahead. This is so interesting.
oh, you keep going, or you want to see somebody's poster? Sorry.
I think after we're done, maybe if someone has it, I do have a poster ready. Maybe you could see that and I could,
Okay.
get some guidance.
Yeah, of course. Okay, give me 1 second, because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I want to move to this. Okay, so it actually did not do what it was supposed to do. Okay, perfect. So kind of going back off of design and what we want to see, you want to make sure that the text, you want to balance text and white space. So you do not want to see too much text, but also you still want to have some of that white space so people can move around. You want to punctuate when using complete sentences and use left align or justified text. So supplement your poster. So add a hidden panel, bring an object, tape a transparency sheet for dry erase doodles, Velcro an old iPad and set it to cycle through images, use QR codes to link to websites, play relevant sounds. These are things that you can use to kind of pull your audience in. Again, I mentioned earlier using a QR code, for example. Style, short paragraphs, concise sentences, parallel list, right? Like you see this image here on my screen, that just it's easy to look at, right? Because it's always going to be a lot of information regardless. But when you use white space, italics, bold, and headings, it can bring people into different locations of your poster. Even changing the colors can sometimes be useful. If you pick like three color scheme, like three different colors for your poster, you can decide how you use those colors. You want to be short and sweet. So you want to revise. So you kind of see here on the left in the maroon, it's this like long sentence. Revise is kind of showing you how you can make this a little bit shorter. Formatting tips, using specific fonts, for body, using Georgia, for heading, using Calibri. Avoid distracting fonts. I know sometimes they can be fun, but they can be distracting. And so title, you want big 94. We suggest headings at 40, and then body text around 32. I know it kind of feels a little bit big, but again, you want people to be able to see it without having to like be all up on your poster. Visuals should be decipherable from a distance. They should know that, oh, I'm looking at a chart. They should design to convey the gist of your message. When they get closer, they can kind of see what your message is, and they should be properly cited. You want to make sure that the visuals that you're using are intentional, not just throwing it on there just to throw it on there, right? Like you want to make sure that they have a purpose towards what your presentation is about. Um, Again, using color purposefully, show connections using bold, guide the audience through, highlight, create a mood, or suggest a theme. I always think suggesting a theme is important. So if your title is one color, then maybe the bolded could also be that same color when you're bolding certain terms, because then it pulls your poster together. So we can kind of actually stop here if you want and go to the Q question and answer, because right now I just have like different slides and people could just critique like what's wrong with this slide. So we can do that, or we can go into the questions.
Thank you so much, Michaela. This is excellent. This is amazing. I'll quickly, I'd like to share a
Yeah.
poster that I made.
Okay.
Now, what's the best way of doing that? If we were doing this in person, I could at least offer you coffee. But meanwhile, does anyone else have their poster ready? Would they like to share it here?
Or any questions?
Mm-hmm. Because the most, I think the critical aspect in making a poster is kind of deciphering the kind of an audience that we're getting. And I
Mhm.
really liked your point about making a poster for the right audience,
Yes,
right? So we need to like really tailor it contextually, visually, and all of that.
exactly. Would you like me to show some like other posts?
Yes,
Oh, okay. Someone else just said that they can share.
sure.
Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I want to.
Oh, yes.
This is Okay, so I'm going to give you Chris, make you the co-host,
All
so
right,
you're
is Mira.
able to share.
Okay. And while
Yes.
that's going on, I'll kind of answer the question about what would be an effective
Mm-hmm.
way to use highlighting
Mm-hmm.
a
Do
poster.
that.
Highlighting in posters would you want to use that when you have specific terminology that you want to pull your audience to. So if there's specific terminology that you want the audience to kind of look directly at, that would be a good way to use highlighting. Another example would be in your results, if there are like specific numbers that you want people to see like in those results, that would be also another good way to use highlighting. You do not want to like overbear your audience with highlighting. So I would always just say like
Right.
key terms that you want your audience to look at, or also key results. Like if this is a specific number that you want to make sure everybody on your poster sees based
Mm-hmm.
on the result, I would highlight that.
So, yes, Chris, would you like to talk about your poster? This is beautiful.
It was,
It's actually my poster, Merly. So I just wanted to be like, I guess use that as an example so y'all could critique or whatever do so that we could learn together. So I actually presented this poster in back in February in Chicago at a conference. And so I just wanted to share my poster with you. I'm not sure what like what information I'm supposed to like share with y'all.
no, there was no, we were just kind of thinking if anybody wanted feedback on the poster. But based on what you kind of just said, like you've already presented this poster, which is
Hmm.
great. And it kind of mirrors the formats that we showed that I showed earlier on. Again, we kind of pull them from the Texas A&M website. And what you guys can see is the biggest part about this is in the center with results is these images. And it is a little bit harder on like the screen to like see, but coming up, you'll be able to really see the importance of textual images and color. Kind of how I said earlier is that there's the uses of those white spaces really help separate the abstract from the introduction, from the methods, and how each highlight the abstract introduction method result in discussion. They're all bolded in the maroon. And the maroon pulls out of the relationship, the title that's at the top, but also pulls in the results table as they're balancing maroon and gray. So in this aspect, there are three colors that were used: maroon, gray, and white. And so when you're picking your color scheme, you want to make sure that you're intentionally using that as well. And again, you can bold different places, like in the discussion or under methods, you'll see like data sources. So that's something that you could choose the bold, right? Like you can pull the audience in, or choose to also make another shade of maroon that can also pull your audience into specific things that you want them to see in those boxes. Yes, I definitely agree. Like the blank spaces as well, it's balanced. But just some other key things that you can do is like bolding certain things in those sections that you want people to read in each section, right? So like utilizing like boldness and then what do we want to see in all those sections. Awesome.
Fantastic. Michaela, which one was your favorite poster ever? I don't know.
Say that
Let me
again.
double check. Which one was your favorite poster, and what was the trick? What did you do differently? Any
Um,
one poster that you felt really served the purpose and stole the show?
I don't have a poster on this like to show right now,
Mhm.
but I can actually I'll speak from an experience when I was at a national conference and I saw somebody else's poster. And one of
Mhm.
the things that really stood out to me with their poster was the images and the use of arrows. I'm a big like mind like map person. And so the
Mhm.
fact that they like had arrows and it was like, oh, like okay, now I'm looking here and then it pulled me somewhere else. I just
Yeah.
felt like it was engaging. And then it also helped that the person that was there like could answer my questions. Something that I wish I would have done on a poster that I've done before, now that it's kind of more popular, is using a QR code. you want people to leave with something. And we always tell, and
Absolutely.
like as someone who's taught public speaking, you always say you want to give somebody a call to action. It's hard to do that on a poster, but your QR code gives them something to do before they leave. It gives
Some food for thought.
exactly,
Yes.
right? So whether the QR code just connects them to your email or your LinkedIn, give them something to do to connect with you because you never know who's going to see your poster, who's going to talk about it with
Absolutely.
somebody else. Like it's just so important to give them a reason to walk away from your poster, even if it's a small QR code. I just say add it, because
Yeah.
it'll just pull your audience in.
I didn't add it in my poster. Are you able to see my poster at this
Yes, I can see your
moment?
poster.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So this is the one that I presented at the recent GRAB symposium, and I felt just adding these two sort of diagrammatic visuals really helped me be able to explain it to those who stopped by, and it kind of attracted people because visually it reflected how an age-old theory is being worked on and is being modernized. So I was self-critiquing myself because I didn't put references there, but I
Mhm.
really asked my own self when I stop and I'm looking at somebody's poster, am I seriously concerned about the references aspect, or would it be more pleasant to be able to read a poster properly?
Mhm.
So I guess it's sometimes a matter of choice as well.
Definitely agree about it being a matter of choice. I think if you are citing anything in particular, like quoting somebody, things like that, at least have like the in-text citation. I do agree with
Okay.
you. When I look at posters, I haven't necessarily been like, oh, are they citing, right? Like I think it's just more like a way to just show evidence and to enhance your credibility. Even though like obviously like you're already credible for being there, etc. But sometimes just having those references can help. So I do think again, all the kind of tips and things that we shared are a matter of preference and how you want to lay out. Kind of like the post that you just shared with us looks a little bit different than the posters that we shared today, but it also does accumulate and come across the points that are supposed to be made, right? Like using the clear and concise sentences, using the spacing, using imagery, and it's exciting, like it's engaging, like you're kind of looking around. So thank you so much for sharing your poster as well. So again, it kind of just shows you that there are multiple ways to do a poster. You just want to make sure your poster is not the one that everyone's like, I don't like this poster. And those are the ones that are super busy and doing way too much. As
Absolutely.
I was out of
Um,
time, I was gonna say
yes, go.
I just have some examples if you guys want to like see some posters that were like what could kind of come across as like not necessarily a good poster.
Yes, absolutely. We would love that. I was just going to comment that we generally don't think about it, but a lot of professional meetings that we attend, workshops that we go to, even for those, we could create posters, with QR codes to our website, to our program. So this is already getting me thinking.
Yes, exactly, right? Like it's super helpful. Okay, so I just want to show a few slides. Again, we can say you critique the following slides. So just go ahead and engage the chat and kind of think through the slides that I'm about to show you guys. Again, these are just example posters that we can look at. So here is the first one. Oh, sorry, I don't know. I'm trying to get the chat back so I can see the chat. Marion, if you can still see the chat, are you able to share with what people were saying? Because the chat box disappeared on me. Or, or if you guys don't mind unmuting and kind of sharing your thoughts, because I can't see the chat box anymore.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, please go ahead. We're welcoming comments. I love it here. Maybe I could give the first comment.
yeah,
So
go ahead.
this is a beautiful color combination. It's a very clean and clear cut um, sort of a layout. Any other thoughts?
Some things that also we can mention here is that the black boxes with the brown writing actually might be visually hard for people to see. Although like and it can be a little bit harder to visualize. Like on the computer, it's a little bit easier to see, but imagine this being printed out, right? And on something. So we want to make sure that the color combinations also that we're using are like a little bit visually easier to see and easier on the audience. You want to think about how are you making your audience um how are you making things easy for your audience? There isn't really a lot of white spacing. Granted, I do like the setup, but there's just little minor things, right, that you can think about that we can pull out from this poster. That's like, oh, I like how they did the center of like awkward sentences using the arrows, right? Like I pointed out, I'm an arrow person. Like I like to be able to kind of see the direction that we need to go, but in the black boxes and it's kind of brown writing on top of that, that's not visually appealing or easy for your audience to read. Are there any?
Yes, Michaela had one question with
Yeah.
regards to accessibility. So now, of course, with the kind of attention and focus
Mhm.
which is driven towards accessibility, I see some issues in that regard because the
Mhm.
brown writing on black might be an issue, and we're getting some comments where people are asking, does the contrast matter? And some are finding it a little busy. So that too is there, like minimizing the text and ensuring that accessibility features are met. And on Canva design, it is inbuilt, and we're
Mhm.
always able to check how accessible a poster is because we might even want to use its digital version, let's say on a website or on a page. So that's when it becomes very important.
Exactly. And something else that I would mention on this is when we talked about earlier the use of images. Excuse me. There's honestly the image that are used here, they don't really do anything for the purpose of this research, right? Like we're talking about Plato's theory, and you have this, I can't even think of what it's called, but to the right of the screen, like the art, the architecture, the art that's there. That doesn't actually really do anything about the Plato's theory of recollection and writing, right? So if we're going to put images on our screen, we want to make sure that it relates back to our research. So these are just little things that we can think about that could make this poster a little bit better. I like kind of the boxes, right? But maybe remove that image and put an image that actually like emphasizes what they're trying to do and what they're trying to explain. Again, back to accessibility, making it easier, not even just for those that accessibility are like kind of been in place for, but for everybody, right? Like you want to make it as inclusive as possible. So that when I'm looking at this, I'm not doing too much work trying to like squint my eyes and read what somebody is trying to put on there. And I'm not questioning like, okay, this actually is adding a little bit too much to the screen, right? So I'll go ahead. If we have time, I'll do another one. Um, Here's another example. What are some critiques for this one? Again, I can't see the chat and I don't know how to get it back. So if you guys can either unmute, and share.
So this one, um, I think the university logo is way down towards the bottom. Maybe there could be a better placement for it. And yeah, there are no blank spaces. It's a
Mhm.
good combination of text and um the visuals
Something else.
overall.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, over to you.
I was gonna say something else. When I talked about earlier about the text fonts, the Plato's theory of recollection and writing is in a little funky kind of font. So again, we want to go back to using fonts that are more standardized and not doing a lot because again, we want to make sure that people can really know what they're trying to say. Like the S is a little, the S, the E, it looks fun and inviting, but at the same time, we want to go back to not making more work for your audience and being very clear, concise, and descriptive in that same time. To your point, the A&M logo is really low. Most of the posters we've seen are like either at the bottom, but they're big, or at the top. Again, back to images, I don't really see that there's this image here doesn't really add to the information that they're trying to display. There also isn't any like really clear like explanation of like what they're trying to get across at the same time. So it's like maybe a little section for like in summary, because again, this isn't necessarily presenting research. This is just explaining something at the same time. Um, Here's another one. What are our critiques for this one?
Is it super busy for some?
Yes. Any other thoughts? I got the chat back. Colors, exactly. The colors are a lot, and it's kind of you don't know where to focus, right? Kind of, I think someone, yep, exactly, just said, and a bit distracting, right? Like you don't know where to go. Like I still have yet to exactly, my eyes hurt too. I don't really know where to start and where to read. Like I keep my eyes are just jumping from place to place, and I still have yet to actually look at the title of the presentation. Like, did anyone else realize that they haven't looked at exactly like I feel lost, right? I haven't even looked at the title. Like now I'm looking at it, but I realized like immediately I went to these like bright oranges and the blue with the dark blue. It's really hard to read. So for the sake of our eyes, I'm gonna go to the next one because you all are on the same page. Our eyes hurt. It's too busy. Don't make your poster like this. Again, it goes back to saying like using those blank white spaces are so crucial. Fonts, yes, exactly. Fonts are a big one, right? Like it kind of went back to that. Um, we
But
can
this
do
one's nice, kind of
yeah.
clearer, no?
Yes, this one is much more clear. Are there any critiques anybody has for this one? Good use of images, right? Intentional uses of images. Any other thoughts? Pleasant color choices, yeah. Mm-hmm. Font sizes, well, yes. The color of the letters on the background are hard to read. Mm-hmm. That is definitely a good critique, right? Like, is there sometimes just going with the white background is the best thing that you can do. So that black on top of that is easy to read. And I think it would still be engaging. So if I were to kind of edit this, I would make my background white and then use the blue for my title maybe. Or use my title to be a certain color to pull in everything else. But I do agree that the conclusion is clear cut. Again, we kind of go to the conclusion and you see the bolded terms. This is another example for writing sorry, this is another example of using bold, or you could also highlight these words as well. For the question that was about highlighting. How do we seek out the Writing Center for feedback on a poster? Yeah, so when you are coming to the Writing Center for any type of help, you will go on our website and book an appointment, and you'll explain what the appointment is on. You wouldn't necessarily request me. All of our consultants here are qualified to help with poster making. So necessarily it's not that we'll make the poster right then and there, but we can review posters, help you edit your poster, etc. And kind of help you figure out the language. So it wouldn't necessarily be me that would be helping you, but one of our consultants here can help you guys with posters. Um, do you want to go through some more?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. I'm not sure. What's the timing? I'm sorry.
So yeah, I think we're moving towards wrapping up.
Yes.
And if any of our participants today have any questions, that would be amazing. Because Michaela, thank you. This entire session has been so helpful, and it's really given us sort of a clear-cut approach. And we know that we're able to use posters with the right QR codes. So there's a lot of thoughtfulness that goes into a poster. It could become sort of a platform for forming future connections.
Yeah.
maybe somebody who scanned the code and moved towards maybe your LinkedIn profile or your
Mhm.
research page, program page, so they're able to connect with you deeper than just being present at the venue. So this, could really open so many doors that way. I
Exactly.
really appreciate that.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
So do we have any questions? Any
Sherry.
last parting thoughts? Anyone? Yes. So we have yes, Marina is saying that it is an absolute requirement for use TAMU colors for posters as presenters. Thank you for that reminder. I think whatever university or institution that you're a part of, it is very important to stay within the branding guidelines for that institution. That's point number one. And secondly, ensuring that accessibility has been taken care of, ensuring that our visuals are balanced, text, the fonts, and everything is in line. So I think there's a formula to this. There's a method to this madness. So you need to first have all the do's and the don'ts written and laid out in front of you, and you have to make sure you're checking all those boxes. I guess through the designing process is just going to become easier that way.
Yeah. So just to kind of close out, thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing. That's so important to make sure that you are in the guidelines of Texas A&M posters. You can access these on, I'm pretty sure on the graduate and professional school or career center. Both of those, I think, will have the access to like the poster templates. You can also talk to your department about there's certain ways that you have to make your poster as well. So just make sure that you're in those guidelines. I definitely would advise you to kind of start there. Just for some more information about the Writing Center, our Writing Center graduate student program opportunities are absolutely amazing. There are so many different ones. And if you want early access and kind of knowing what's going on, I suggest that you kind of go to groups.google.com. When you go there, you'll be able to select all groups. You'll search for UWC and then you'll join and you'll get opportunities to kind of know what's going on and what we offer for graduate students. With that being said, thank you so much for just coming to our event today. I'm super happy that we're able to collaborate with you guys. We are on the second floor. We help graduate students so you can get feedback from trained writing consultants at any stage of your process in writing. So seminar papers, research posters, your dissertation and theses, grant applications, technical and scientific writing, conference presentations, anything that you guys need help with, even if you want to just give your presentation to us and just get feedback on what to work on, we help with that as well. We have in-person Zoom, or like via email essentially, meaning you can upload a document and a consultant will just leave comments throughout your entire document. So it would just be strictly back and forth. You upload, we leave comments, and then we send it back to you. We talked about QR codes. So you guys can see a QR code right here. So you can scan the QR code on the screen, and that'll kind of show you where and how to book an appointment here at the Writing Center. Again, our sessions are about 45 minutes. So you want to think about like what you can get done in that time. I know dissertation and theses are big projects. So sometimes it's important, like as you go throughout the process, just sending us pieces, maybe just like your introduction at once, and then your methods, conclusion, etc., your chapter summaries as you work through that. I'll leave this slide up for a little bit in case anyone needs to scan. And if there are any last minute questions just about the Writing Center in general or about what we discussed, I'll open up the floor now again.
Huge thanks to the Writing Club, Texas A&M University's Writing Club. And Michaela, could you please add your email address
Yes.
in the chat box so everybody has access to that? So today we had Michaela Renwick speaking with us today. And thank you, Michaela, for your participation in Paths to Publication series. You've given some excellent, very practical guidance on how to design effective conference posters. This was incredibly helpful to all of us. It was a very engaging session. It's going to help not just research presentations, but also our professional presentations. And these insights and tips have have literally given a very clear window into the writing and publication, and kind of thinking about design features whenever we publishing anything at all. So it's inspiring to see how the writing club is helping build this confidence, is helping build collaborations, and is a great platform for graduate community. So big thanks to ELRC, the Educational Leadership Research Center, Cordella, the Center for Research and Development and Dual Language and Literacy Acquisition, and the Graduate Student Advisory Council for their continued support for this series. And we're very grateful for your time, for the time of all the participants. Feel free to write to us. I've put down Jordan Donop's email address. She was unable to host the session today. So today you were able to have me host the session in a bit of a clumsy way. And this is Marine Kashyap Gayas. I'm a second year Whale workforce and adult literacy graduate student at the College of Education and Human Development. And we will continue to bring you past publication in the coming days. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your day.